Welcome to episode 5 of the Ball Don't Lie podcast, where we talk all things NBA basketball. I'm Suhas. With me, I have Hudson and Tejas. Today, we have a very special episode for you guys. We're very sorry about episode 4. We actually recorded like a whole second part where we did a start bench cut of about 8 trios of players, and unfortunately, as Hudson mentioned, the file got corrupt. So, we'll try to make sure that doesn't happen again. But today we're going to be doing the mock draft for this year's NBA draft. We're going to be doing just the lottery. We felt that it was about the right time to do it since the draft is, I think the draft is in like less than 2 weeks now. So it's coming up pretty soon. But before we do the mock draft, uh, we wanted to get this big news that just came up like a couple days ago. Um, So the NBA and the Players Association have tentatively agreed on a date to start off the next season. December 22nd is the date that they agreed on. We briefly talked about this being a possibility and how the players didn't really like this, but I guess they were able to come to an agreement. It's going to be a 72 game season, and I think it's good because I think it's there's no more like speculation. Like we actually know like the set date. So yeah, what do you guys think? Like briefly, Hudson, because I know we talked about this as a possibility. But yeah, what do you think?
Well, I mean, I'm excited to be honest. I'm really excited that they found a date to do this. I think all basketball fans would have been kind of sad, but also happy if it would have been on MLK Day. But again, the sooner the better for fans. And if the players are okay with it, obviously that's fine. We were discussing, I forgot which episode, but we were discussing that it would be more competitive with a 72 game season instead of an 82, as less wins or 30, let's say, for example, 30 wins would probably guarantee you a spot. It might guarantee you a spot here, but maybe not as higher up in the seating. But again, I think the All-Star game is going to be canceled, which is kind of unfortunate. But I would rather have the All-Star game canceled than have the whole entire season delayed another month. But basically, I'm fired up for it, and as long as no outbreaks happen, I'm all fine with it.
I think it was a good decision by the NBA for business reasons because they were going to lose a lot of revenue if they started any time afterwards. And especially since they lost a lot of revenue last season because they didn't have fans. I don't know how fans are going to work this year. Maybe they have, I don't know, 5% capacity in the stadium. And the other thing you have to realize is stadiums are indoors. So, like, you got to think about, how many people are in the stands. But I expect around 5% capacity. Maybe we'll see a few fans, I expect. But other than that, the other thing I want to talk about specifically with this is the athletes. I know for a fact, I remember the other day listening to Shannon Sharp about this. He said LeBron James will play on opening night because that's the banner ceremony. They're going to get their rings. But do not be surprised if Bron sits out for a lot of the first few games, and expect a lot of athletes to expect Jimmy Butler to do that. I expect a few people from the Celtics. I expect maybe Jokic or Murray to take a few days off at the beginning of the season. I expect maybe even a few Raptors players or even the Clippers, maybe because Kawhi. I don't know. But expect a lot of people to take rest. But the one team I don't expect to take any rest are the Warriors, which is why I think we might have, if we start doing standings wise, I think I might have to put the Warriors as the first seed because they will be fully rested and they might be the one team that might destroy the West. But again, it's only the start of the season. But don't expect prime athletes like LeBron and Kawhi to play these first few games at the start of December and January. Expect them to start to kick in gear probably February, March.
Yeah, for sure. And we'll get into this standings. We're gonna do an episode about where we think each team is gonna finish closer to the season, and I'm sure a lot more information is gonna come out about this. Uh, but now let's get on to the main topic of the show, which is our mock draft, as I mentioned before. So a couple of things about this. We're just going to be doing the lottery in this episode because it'll take too much time to do the whole first round or the whole second round. The lottery, I don't want to say is like the picks that matter because every pick matters, but it's the most important part of the draft. And also, for the purpose of this video, going to be assuming that each team is keeping their pick because there are just so many combinations that can happen. Like the Timberwolves can trade down, but we don't know who they're going to trade to, or we don't know who's going to come back to the Timberwolves. So it's um, just to keep it simple, just assuming that if each team were taking, we're keeping their pick, who would they take? Who we would take if we were in their position. And yeah, let's get into it. We're gonna go 1 through 14. I'll go first. And we have the Timberwolves at number 1. And I thought this was pretty easy for me. I'm gonna take if I was them, I would take Anthony Edwards at number 1. I think it makes sense both, talent wise and fit wise. I think he fits what they need. They have a nice point guard in D'Angelo Russell and a nice center in Karl Anthony Towns, but their wing depth is sort of questionable. So having Anthony Edwards on their team is going to bring a boost for sure. They were rumored to trade their pick as well, but I mean, if I was drafting at number 1, I would definitely take Anthony Edwards if I was a Timberwolves. He's an athletic, kind of like a shot maker as a shooting guard, and from what I've watched him, I kind of compare him to like a Donovan Mitchell type player. I know he himself has said that he kind of looks after Dwayne Wade. He models his game after Dwayne Wade, and Donovan Mitchell is also compared to Dwayne Wade as well. So I think kind of like around the same ballpark. Anthony Edwards is my number 1 pick.
I totally agree with you, Suhas. This is a no-brainer for the Timberwolves. The Timberwolves, they have a star. I wouldn't say. I guess star point guard in D'Angelo Russell. They have an all-star center in Karl Anthony Towns. So that automatically takes out Lamellar Ball and James Wiseman. That means there's only one player left that you would take number 1 overall, and that's Anthony Edwards. I do want to make this point. He is 6'3", 225. He does have a little bit of height issue if he plays the small forward if they need him to, but he's a great wing, and this is exactly what the Timberwolves needed, for their team. And he's very explosive. Now, some things that he may need to improve on his decision making, and he's a streaky shooter from outside. He shot around 30%. From 3 at Georgia, and I mean, we'll see. I think he's going to be a stud, and this is the exact pick that the Timberwolves need to make. What about you, Hudson?
Again, for me, it's a no-brainer. It's Anthony Edwards. It can't be bad being compared to Dwayne Wade at all, but some weaknesses again were also 3 points, but also free throw shot only 58% at Georgia in 2018-2019, or 2019, I should say. And he's explosive. He's a shooting guard, which is just what the T-Wolves need. With Karl Anthony Towns at center and then D'Lo at point guard, I think Anthony Edwards at the wing position is just the type of player they need. And I think with him, I'm not sure if it could be a push for the playoffs, but definitely in future years to come, it's a possibility.
All right, great. Moving on to the number 2 overall pick. This is held by the Golden State Warriors, and this I felt was the easiest choice for me. I'm going James Wiseman at number 2. I know they've been blown away by a lot of other prospects. I personally think it's kind of like a strategy to confuse other teams so that they don't really know who they're going to take. Like, oh, we like this prospect. So it's kind of like, which one are they going to take? It's like the Warriors actually not know? No, but the Warriors actually know who they're going to take. I'm like 90% sure if they had the number 2 pick and they were going to draft, if you pointed a gun to their head, they're going to take James Wiseman 10 times out of 10. It just makes too much sense. Center is the one position that they're not, pretty confident at. And the good thing about James Wiseman going to the Warriors is that he doesn't even have to be like an all-star center or like rookie of the year. He just has to be serviceable. And I think he's gonna be one of the most, NBA ready guys in this draft. If you look at his game, he's an athletic lob threat. He's a paint protector. I compare him to like a DeAndre Jordan. And you see players like DeAndre Jordan who just do the little things for you, rim run and play defense. And I think he's going to be a very good addition to their team because they've been lacking that center like over the years. Like I know they had DeMarcus, but he wasn't the same after his injury. But now having that other dynamic, it's going to be a scary sight for them.
I agree with you, Suhas. This should be a no-brainer pick for the Warriors. They should take James Wiseman. He would be their franchise center. He's 7'1", 240. I mean, that's pretty big for a center. I mean, considering these days, he's almost like a Joel Embiid, but Joel Embiid is like 300 pounds. But he's very explosive. He's agile. He's good as a pick and roll finisher, which is key, especially in that Golden State offense. But I do also want to make this point. If I'm the Warriors, I would not, I might go best player available here. And I know they really think about it. The year 2015 that they won the championship, who was their center? Andrew Bogut. They sometimes ran Draymond at the 5. They really don't need a center if you think about it. So if I'm the Warriors, I know there have been a lot of talks. And I think this may be also a time to get Denny the Denny dude from Israel. He, as we know, international prospects, we've seen Giannis, we've seen Luka, we've seen Porzingis, we've seen, all these international prospects come out of nowhere and start balling. Jokic, we've seen Jamal Murray play here in Kentucky, but he's from Canada. We've seen all these international prospects flourish because they understand fundamentals about the game. And so I would not be surprised if they, took Denny from Israel and maybe tried to flip Wiggins for a center. But the safe pick would be Wiseman. But if the Warriors really wanted to confuse everybody, they would take the Denny Avdija from Israel.
Well, my pick is James Wiseman. Like you said, 7'1" as a rookie is decently big for a center. And I think I had Denny going earlier down, but the Warriors I'm pretty sure there was some rumors that they were interested in him. I might be confusing it with another team or a different player for them. But I'm pretty sure that the Warriors there's a big chance that they take Denny Avdija if the Timberwolves, who are most likely to take Anthony Edwards, because I don't know if you saw the rumors, but there was rumors going around about the Warriors having a good package for Giannis and including Andrew Wiggins in there. But I do think I was originally sort of thinking Obi Toppin, and then I kind of changed my decision earlier on to James Wiseman, as he was. I remember a couple months ago he was projected to go number 1, and then Anthony Edwards came out and he kind of dropped down. But I think that the Warriors might take a little chance and take Wiseman at number 2.
Yeah, I mean, I think Tay just said that they don't need a center. I actually disagree with that because, the teams that they had earlier when they had Bogut and those guys, they weren't really going up against other teams that had dominant big man. But now if you look at the Western Conference, they have to compete with the Lakers who have Anthony Davis, the Nuggets who have Jokic. So both those teams are going to be in the mix. And if they want to keep up with them and have any chance of, surpassing those teams, they need, whether it's drafting or trading for a center, they need a presence down low because Anthony Davis is just going to bully them. Nikola Jokic is just going to bully them come playoff time. Um, but just moving on to the next pick, which is going to be made by the Charlotte Hornets. This was actually very tough for me. Because it was kind of a question of fit versus talent. And I eventually just went with Lamello Ball. I just think he's too good to leave on the board right now. His upside is ridiculous. And I know I've said before that they should go big on this one and they should get James Wiseman, but in my mock draft, James Wiseman is already gone, and I think LaMelo is the next best player available. I think a good thing about LaMelo is that the Charlotte Hornets don't really have a guy that's gonna, you know, that LaMelo is gonna have to fall in line to. Like as good as Devontae Graham is, we don't know if that was just a one season wonder thing from last year. We don't know if he's gonna be able to consistently do that. Terry Rozier, he's not gonna be a guy that's gonna force LaMelo to take a back seat. Like LaMelo is gonna be able to play free because the Charlotte Hornets don't really have any expectations of contending for a playoff spot or any of that sort. They're just a very like young team, and LaMelo would just I think you have to take a chance on him because even if you have to move him to shooting guard or move Devontae to shooting guard, I just think he's just too good to pass up on right now. As far as who I'll compare him to, he's a very good all around versatile point guard. Um, very flashy as well. He likes the flashy passes and stuff. That's why I kind of gave him a mix of Jason Kidd and Jason Williams. He's a big point guard. He loves to kind of do it all. His shot selection is very questionable, and like his effort on defense. But I think he can clean that up with some great coaching and just when he's let off the leash kind of. I just think he's too good to pass up on, which is why I have him going number 3.
Um, I also agree with this pick. LaMelo Ball is the clear, obvious pick here at number 3, if based on our projections that Anthony Edwards goes 1 and how Wiseman goes 2. The thing about LaMelo Ball that really, it's his passing is ridiculous. Like if you watch him in the Australian League, oh my god, some of the passes he's made, his vision is insane. And not only that, I want to make this point real quick. If you look at the way the Charlotte Hornets roster is built out right now, you have Devontae Graham running point, Rozier running shooting guard, you have Miles Bridges running the small forward, PJ Washington running the 4, and you have Cody Zeller running the 5. If you throw LaMelo Ball into that mix, he's probably going to either come off the bench or he's going to start in place of Rozier. And what the Hornets can do is, in late game situations, they can run their small ball lineup of Devontae, Rozier, Ball. Because the thing about Ball is he's so versatile and he's such a good defender with good vision. He's 6'7". That's ridiculous. He will get bullied by other small forwards because he's only 190 pounds, but he can build up some size. And they run Miles Bridges at the 4 and PJ Washington as a small ball 5 because he can stretch the floor. That is I would say it's somewhat of a dangerous lineup when you look at it, especially considering you have basically almost 3 point guards on the floor. And this is a very obvious choice. Best pick available for Charlotte is to go LaMelo Ball. And I really don't see any other pick here for them. Hopefully he'll change their franchise around.
Yeah, well, it looks like we all have the same first 3 picks. I also have LaMelo Ball going to the Hornets. I think that this is kind of a no-brainer. If he's available at this point, coming from I forgot which place it was, from International, somewhere, but his size is big for a point guard at 6'8", 180, mainly height, and his passing is incredible. Like you said, his jump shot is pretty nice, and I think that he could be a good fit with the Hornets. His NBA comparison, according to NBA Draft.net, is Sean Livingston. But again, he's great for his position, and He can shoot the ball. He plays good defense, great passing. But again, Lonzo Ball, I don't think has been turning out as the greatest number 2 pick he could have been. But again, he's still young. He has more potential. So I think if he doesn't start out great, I wouldn't count him out and that he could catch on just like that. And I do think that he will fit in well with with the Hornets. But at point guard, they do have Terry Rozier and Devontae Graham. But Terry Rozier is probably not playing as good as he should be for all the money that he's getting. And Devontae Graham did just come out of nowhere that last season. So if this is still going, they might be able to move him over to a different position. But if not, then it makes better sense for him to be going to Charlotte.
All right, cool. So moving on to the next team, which is the Chicago Bulls. Here I have them taking Deni Avdija from Israel. They just mentioned him earlier. I think I'm very high on Deni. I think he's one of my favorite players in this draft class. I gravitate a lot towards these foreign guys who don't really get that much attention. And Deni is one of them. Not a lot of people are talking about it, but he definitely could be the best player in the draft, like if we're thinking about it. As far as like how I see his game, he's kind of like a playmaking like point forward. And I think one comparison that Tejas might be able to agree on is Gordon Hayward for him. I think if you look at that Celtics Heat series, Gordon Hayward, a lot of Celtics fans were very confident that he was going to be the guy to break the Heat zone. Unfortunately, he wasn't 100%, but he has the vision, he has the playmaking capability that the Celtics lacked for most of that series. And I think Deni has the same similar sort of attributes. Even sort of like a Hito Turkoglu from.
But the big thing about Deni is he can play probably 1 through 4. He has the size to play power forward as well. And the thing about him is he's such a good cutter, and he's a really good defender as well. He covers ground. The thing about him is he has toughness. He's competitive, which is something that is very critical here in the NBA. He loves operating out of the pick and roll, and the Bulls need a wing. The Bulls really need a wing here. They have a good point guard in Kobe White. They have Zach LaVine running the shooting guard position. They have a good center, Daniel Gafford. Lauri Markkanen runs the power forward. This would be the perfect play for the Chicago Bulls to just insert Deni to play the small forward position. And it's just the perfect pick. It literally sets up Chicago. This is, I have a few friends that are from Chicago that are Bulls fans who are really upset that their team got the 4th pick. But, it might work out for them to get Deni. It just might. We'll see.
I also have them taking Deni Avdija, if that's how it's pronounced, not too sure. But I do think that this will fit great for the Bulls, depending on how they run their lineup. But he has great passing, and like you said, I was going to say that he could play basically every position except for maybe center. But being a small forward and 6'9", 210, he's international, which would probably create another getting the league more international type. But one of his weaknesses is that his wingspan is a little smaller for his height. But if he can put some weight, if he can bulk up a bit, try to put some weight on him, muscle, then he could easily compete for being a power forward. And he's got great leadership from Israel. And I think that this is adding another piece for the Bulls' young core.
Moving on to the Cavs, who are at number 5. I have them taking Obi Toppin, a power forward / center. I think that this is a very good pick for them because I think they've taken guards the last two drafts. I think they should go forward/center now. Um, whether Andre Drummond resigns or not, you can either put Obi at the 5 or play him alongside Drummond. I think it's time to move on from Kevin Love. I just don't think he fits the timeline of that team. They said they were trying to shop him, so I won't be surprised if Kevin Love got traded sometime this offseason. And I think Obi Toppin can be that nice replacement. Not saying he's going to be as good as Kevin Love was, but uh, that guy who can be, part of that young core with Colin Sexton and Darius Garland. Um, as far as like how I see his game, he's a very athletic big, but he has very nice touch around the rim. Um, I think where he's very questioned is his defensive awareness and defensive versatility, which is why I compare him to John Collins. I think um, I don't know if he'll ever be able to, reach the outside shooting part of John Collins' game, but I think John Collins is very good touch around the rim. He's also very athletic, and John Collins is defensive liability. Um, so that's how I see Obi Toppin. Obviously, he can develop his game, but I think he'd be a great pick for the Cavs.
I also have the Cavs taking Obi Toppin. I feel like this is a no-brainer pick for them. You don't know if Drummond is going to take that player option, but I just want to mention this. This is really kind of strange for the Cavs. They have a lot of depth. I didn't even realize that. You have Colin Sexton, Darius Garland, Jetty Osman. You have Larry Nance, Andre Drummond, Tristan Thompson, Kevin Porter Jr. And if you draft Obi Toppin too, that is a lot of depth that they have. And they still have Matthew Dellavedova, who we know can do some things, but they have a lot of depth. I didn't even realize that. And Obi Toppin fits this team perfectly. They do need to get rid of Kevin Love, which I think they'll trade for some maybe more draft picks or maybe more younger players. But on the topic of Obi Toppin, he's explosive. He's as you mentioned, John Collins. He's a lob threat. He can pick and pop. He's a good passer out of the post. He handles double teams pretty well. His defensive instincts are a little limited, but that's okay. You can always develop a defensive game as long as you're an average to above average defender in this league. You'll be all right. And I feel like this is the perfect pick for the Cavs here too. I know a lot of people were upset that the Cavs didn't get top 4 in the lottery, but it may work out for them. We just got to see what happens. And I think Obi Toppin would be the perfect fit for them.
I also have Obi Toppin going to the Cavs here, averaging 20 points from Dayton last year. Honestly, just came out of nowhere. I was kind of looking at these prospects, and in the year before he was not doing great, and then this past season just literally became one of the best players in the A-10 conference. And he's 6'9", has also a 7'2" wingspan at 230. And just one of the weaknesses that he has is being kind of slow. So if he has to go up against one of the quicker power forwards on the perimeter, it might be kind of tough for him to guard them. But if he develops into something better, then obviously he'll become maybe one of the best in the draft class. Obviously, he is going number 5, but could become one of the best. But I think he's explosive, and his defense is good. Might need a bit of work. His size is great, and yeah, I think that he could work out well with the Cavs, not knowing if Drummond is going to take that player option, and Kevin Love is entering on the trading block. So if they lose him, first of all, if they only lose Kevin Love, then they're going to need somebody else. And even if they only lose Andre Drummond, they're going to need somebody else. So I think Obi Toppin would be the right choice.
So it looks like we have a lot of the same, top 5. I think it's going to start getting different as we move on to the next couple of picks, especially to the bottom of the lottery. But at number 6, we have the Atlanta Hawks. I have them taking Tyrese Halliburton. I think when you think about the Hawks, I mentioned it before that I thought they should go wing in the draft, somewhere like a 2 or 3 position. You know, whether Kevin Huerter is that guy who's going to be their starting shooting guard for the future is yet to be seen. But I think when you think about a guy like Tyrese Halliburton, who's one of the best defending guards or defending wings in this draft, he's very long. He can play make very well. Put him alongside Trae Young. He can take whoever is trying to attack Trae Young. Tyrese can just switch onto him because he's just very good defensively, kind of like a Lonzo Ball or like a DeJounte Murray type player. And I think the Hawks could really use someone like this, especially when you're trying to cover up Trae Young's defensive liabilities. I think this would be a very good pick for them.
I'm here with the 6th pick. The Hawks. We talked about them, how they needed another wing, more experience, but they could also go young here. I think at this pick, they're going to take Isaac Okoro from Auburn. If you look at NBA wings, if you look at the better wings in this league, Kawhi Leonard, Kevin Durant, LeBron James, Jason Tatum, Brandon Ingram, Chris Middleton, they're all lengthy. He's a very good defender, and he's got all NBA potential. I think, he was very good as a defender. He's got a lot to grow offensively. But one thing I will say is his offensive game, is he a good enough scorer? They don't need him to score that much with Trae Young on the floor, but he had 16 points per 40 minutes in college. And that's probably just a struggle. He shot 29% from 3 and 67% from the free throw line. That's a little sketchy. But in the NBA, if you have a dynamic scorer like Trae Young and you have sharpshooters like Kevin Huerter and you have a lob threat like Capella and John Collins, they really don't need Okoro to score that much. And I think they could take him here and maybe they could flip Hunter or Reddish if they don't feel like they're going to work out. And that way, anything's possible. They have their wing. And Atlanta could do a lot of things right here. I feel like they might trade this pick. But if they're going to pick someone, I think it's going to be Okoro from Auburn.
I don't think that they're going to be trading this pick. I actually am going to disagree with both of you. I think that they might take a long shot and take Killian Hayes from France. He's a 6'5", 195 point guard. And I think that we were talking about how they need a wing player. I think Killian Hayes can be switched to a wing, with Trae Young being about 6'1", I think. He could play point guard, but Killian Hayes being 6'5", can also play shooting guard. Averaging 13 points last season, I think he can fit in well with the Hawks. He's compared to Spencer Dinwiddie. He's tall, being 6'5" for a point guard. He's also left-handed, and he is good wingspan. But one of the weaknesses that he has is that what I think, I'm pretty sure some other rookies have, is being explosive, like at the start, but just playing too fast and maybe losing the ball. But if he can develop himself and try to take it slow at a slower pace, I think he can definitely be a great fit for the Hawks and make the Hawks one of the best young cores, maybe give them a push for the playoffs. But I think that if he can do what he does, play like Spencer Dinwiddie, who is a great player, and maybe take it at a slower pace than he did in college and how he's expected to in the NBA, I think that there's a chance that he could give the Hawks a push to the playoffs.
Yeah, so I did see that, it was about to come where we were about to have some different picks. We all had a different pick, which I really like. Next we had the Detroit Pistons. And this is where I have Killian Hayes going. Hudson mentioned it earlier. Um, I think Killian Hayes uh is a floor general type player. The only reason I wouldn't really see him working out with the Hawks is that, he is not the defensive presence that Tyrese Halliburton is, and I don't know if he can play as well off the ball um, as Tyrese Halliburton can. So that's why I have him going to the Pistons, a team that lacks a starting point guard. Derrick Rose came off the bench last year for most of the season, and he's probably going to be gone. So I think Killian Hayes can fill that void. Hudson mentioned it, left-handed player from France, a floor general, a guy that can score but also play make. I like his game a lot. When I watch him, obviously I'm a Miami Heat fan. He reminds me a lot of Goran Dragic, um, and I think he'd be a great pick for the Pistons.
I hear for the Pistons. The Pistons are in a weird situation. They're obviously in a rebuilding situation, and they got screwed over by the lottery. But at 7, I have the Pistons taking Onyeka Ongwaku from USC. He's a very good. He's mobile. He finishes above the rim. He's a really good defender. He's got great timing. He's got a good touch in the mid range. He does have some struggles. He's not that big of a center. He's actually 6'9", tall. I'm sorry. He strictly plays the 5. He only, he really doesn't shoot the 3 that much. Maybe he can develop that. We'll see. But he's like a lot. This is the guy I would compare to DeAndre Jordan. He's a really good defender, and he's most primarily a lob-catching, shot-blocking center. And I think the Pistons, they'll probably have Derrick Rose play the point guard, which is why I didn't have them take Killian Hayes here. And they can move Christian Wood to the 4 and then have Ngwaku play at the 5. And I think this would be a pretty solid pick. I think Ngwaku can develop to be one of the better centers in our league. But the way our game is going, with a lot of centers shifting to the 3-point line, we'll see. But I think he can be one of the better centers in the league. And that's why I have the Pistons taking Ngwaku at 7.
I also have Onyake going to the Pistons. Not too sure how to pronounce his name, so I might mess up sometimes. But coming from USC, he's a great rebounder. He's compared to John Collins and Montrezl Harrell, and they're both two good defensive players, good rebounders, and good defensive players, which is basically the same as Onyake. They're all. He's also very athletic for power forward / center at 6'9" and 235. But I think he's strong, athletic, and great rebounder, great defensive player. But I do think that he may need to get maybe a shot up, meaning a jump shot. But again, most centers don't really have or need too much a jump shot. But just anything. Try to get help with anything offensive, being maybe passing or stuff like that. But I think that for the Pistons, they can have Onyake playing at the 4 or 5, depending on where they put Christian Wood. I'm guessing they wouldn't have Christian Wood at the 5, meaning they would probably put him at 4 and Onyake at 5. And depending on how they do it or free agency stuff, whatever the deal is, I think Onyake would be a great fit in with the Pistons.
All right, moving on to number 8, we got the New York Knicks, and this is where I have Isaac Okoro going. I think Isaac Okoro is a very good wing defender. He can play shooting guard or small forward. I think he's probably like if you look at like just pound for pound best defenders in this draft, I think he's number 1. I think his defense is crazy. A lot of people, have pointed out that he does have a questionable jump shot, which he's gonna have to work on. They just, I think, mentioned 29% from three. I think was the number, and he's gonna have to get those numbers up. But I think the defense is always gonna be there. A lot of people have been comparing him to Kawhi Leonard. I see more of a Matisse Thybulle, or when he reaches the ceiling, of someone like a Jimmy Butler, someone like that. I think Isaac Okoro will be a very good pick for the Knicks.
At 8 for the Knicks. If you're the Knicks, you have to go best player available. And the best player available, I think, at this point is Patrick Williams. Patrick Williams, I thought he's a very good wing player out of Florida State. He can switch onto maybe not the center position, but 1 through 4 he can switch. He's big, he's tall. He's got a lot of mid-range moves, and he's decent enough from the 3-point line, and he's a good free throw shooter. And not only that, the Knicks need young players, and he is the second youngest player in this draft class. And he could be somewhat a late bloomer, and he's got tremendous upside. He is a raw offensive player, and sometimes the game's a little quick for him. He had the third worst assist to turnover ratio, and his intensity level isn't really there. But I think if the Knicks really want to rebuild here, they got to go with Patrick Williams here. He's the second youngest player in the draft. This is the pick they have to take here, and that's why I see them taking him at 8.
I have a different player here for the Knicks. I have him taking Tyrese Halliburton, point guard from Iowa State. And to be honest, he's expected to go to them. I think that the Knicks, this point guard could be a great piece in their core with RJ Barrett. And he's compared to Dante Exum and Lonzo Ball. He's a tall point guard, his long arms, and his height is pretty nice for his position. And again, he's 100, or I don't think I've said, he's 180 pounds. So if he wants to be a strong point guard type like Lonzo who can come to the rim, then he might need to put some more weight on him and try to get stronger. But the Knicks just have, their franchise has just been depressing for the past, as long as their franchise has been existed, they've been depressing. So I think that, obviously this won't be the player that'll give them a championship next year, but it could be another piece in their journey to maybe the 9th seed.
Next, we have the Washington Wizards. And this is where I had them taking Onyeka Okongwu. I had to look up how to pronounce his name because I had no clue. But this is my favorite player in the draft. I'm just so high on him. I'm actually surprised that on my mock draft he fell to 9. But I guess that's just how it went. He's a very versatile big. He himself said that he tries to, model his game after Bam Adebayo. I don't really see the explosiveness or the playmaking or the ball handling of Bam, but I think he's very versatile. I kind of look at him as like a Montrezl Harrell type player, someone who's undersized, maybe not as explosive as Bam, but I think he's still gonna be a damn good player in this draft. I think for the Wizards, he's just so perfect, especially if you want to. I don't know if Thomas Bryant is going to be the guy moving forward for them because he is a liability on defense, but Okongwu is not. So if you want to play him alongside Rui Hachimura, or maybe move Hachimura to the 3 and play super big, or they have so many options if they take him right here. I just think he's just too good to pass up on, and that's why I have him going here to the Wizards.
At 9 for the Wizards, I actually have 2 back-to-back Florida State players. I have Devin Vassell, shooting guard. I think this would be the perfect play for them, for the Wizards, because they have Bradley Beal. And they really need a backup shooting guard. I mean, who do they have backing him up now? Isaac Bonga. And they already have a good point guard in John Wall. He's coming back. They have their wing player of the future in Rui Hachimura. I think Troy Brown Jr. is actually pretty good too. And they have a solid center. I mean, solid enough in Thomas Bryant. I think he's one of the he's a young and up and coming, but there's still time for him to develop. So I think the play here is to take Devin Vassell from Florida State. He's 6'5". He's reported around 6'7", but he's got a 7-foot wingspan. He's really agile. He's got 3-and-D potential. He's got a little more shot creation than 3-and-D players. He's getting better at ball handling, and you can obviously improve that as time goes by. The problem is he's not really that good of a passer, and he's not really that explosive, and his three ball's not really that solid, and he's also not that good of a free throw shooter. But I think this is the pick for the Wizards here. He's probably I'd say second or third best shooting guard in this draft class, and this is why I have the Wizards taking him at 9.
I actually have Patrick Williams going to the Wizards here. From FSU, he can play small forward or power forward. He's extremely explosive, and he's not the greatest scorer, but he definitely has potential. Definitely a better defensive type player, but he's very big at 6'7". That's why he could play both small forward and power forward. Also 215. He's extremely athletic, but again, the offensive sort of that he can pass well, but scoring is kind of the issue here. If he can score, then he could turn into a great, like one of the best players in the draft. He has a 6'11" wingspan, and I think that he could fit in well with Bradley Beal if he stays in Washington. But I mean, I think that Rui Hachimura could. He's probably okay. To get things clear, I'm not sure. I'm kind of getting things mixed up right now. But Patrick Williams, I think, could fit in well with the Wizards, depending if he could get the scoring straight, and if he could start scoring more, and he has the defense and athleticism and all that stuff straight, he could be a great player.
All right. So next we have the Phoenix Suns. I'm very interested in Tejas' pick, bro, because I didn't think Tyrese Halliburton would fall so low, but we'll get to it. I have Kyra Lewis going to the Suns. He's a very quick point guard. He's a very good decision maker. I think he fills a void at that point guard position. I think everyone on their team kind of fits the timeline except for Ricky Rubio. So I think having a young point guard coming up, their backups are kind of like Cameron Payne or Javon Carter, who are not really like going to take that franchise next step. But I think adding a guy like Kyra Lewis can. I kind of compare him. I'm not going to say he's going to be as good as this player, but he reminds me a lot of Ja Morant when I watch him play. And that will be a very scary side if he fulfills any of that potential with the Suns.
At this pick at 10, I'm not going to say Tyrese Halliburton. I think the Suns will actually take Killian Hayes here. Y'all mentioned this before. Killian Hayes, he's a lefty. He's 6'5". He can switch onto a lot. He's a good pick and roll player. He's played pro games, and as we know, the international players, they have good fundamentals, and playing in pro leagues will actually develop you better for the NBA. I wouldn't say he's that really good, explosive. He's that athletic. That's really a problem. And he's as I mentioned, extremely left-handed. He really doesn't try to use that right hand. And defensively, he really struggles with speedy guards. And as we know, a lot of the point guards in this league are very quick and agile. So it's going to be interesting. But I think the Suns really needed another point guard. Ricky Rubio's 30, and they really need to look for another point guard in the future so they can pair him up with Devin Booker. And I think this is the exact way to go with Killian Hayes. He's a good fit for them at 11.
For me, I have the Suns taking Isaac Okoro, and might be kind of late to you guys, but I do think at small forward he can help them. He can play both shooting guard and small forward, but I think coming from Auburn, being 6'6", 215, he could be a great player. Not the best passer, but pretty good, and he is very, very athletic. Not the biggest player, but again, he is a rookie, so he could easily add weight on or add height on, or not height, but you know what I mean. Offensively, he's not the greatest player. He shot below 28% from 3 in his freshman season. And I really do think that he could be a bust. And if I did think, if I'm the Wizards, I think I'm going to take him, but I do think he's going to be bust. And obviously, this is just what I think the pattern is going to be. But at 215 and 6'6", being a shooting guard / small forward, there's a chance that he could help them a lot. But then I think he's either going to be a great player or just a complete bust.
Yeah, and just to clarify on what Hudson said, none of us are hoping that these players are going to be bust. It's just that they have that bust potential. Just so that no one takes that what he said the wrong way. But moving on to I think this is number 11, where we have the San Antonio Spurs. This is where I have them taking Patrick Williams. I think DeMar DeRozan is probably gone after this year. To replace him at that small forward position, have a guy, an athletic, 3-and-D wing player, go into the Spurs system, and he doesn't have to be, a superstar with them. He can kind of play his role, kind of like what OG Anunoby does with the Raptors. He can be kind of that type of player for them, and I think he's a steal at this pick. 11 is, Patrick Williams at 11. I'll take that any day of the week, and I think the Spurs can mold him into something special, as they did, once with another 3-and-D wing player. And we all know what happened to him. He's a champion now, Kawhi Leonard. And I'm not saying Patrick Williams is going to be as good as him, but we never know with the Spurs system.
At 11 here, the Spurs, I finally have Tyrese Halliburton going off the board. And the reason why I have him going so low is it's similar to how Cole Anthony is going to fall in this draft. Team was just not really that good with him on the roster at college. And I know, sometimes you can't exactly judge someone how they do in college with their team, but it's going to be, not really appealing that his team went 10-12. But he's a good 3-point shooter. He's a good free throw shooter. He's really not that big though. For a point guard, he's like 175. And I think he might be a defensive liability at points. He does have an extremely high IQ, and he's a good passer. But I really didn't like him in this draft. But the Spurs could use a backup point guard, and that's where I think they will take Tyrese Halliburton here at number 11.
At number 11 here to the Spurs, I actually have them taking Devin Vassell Vassell, not sure, from FSU. Just to clarify what I said before again, I'm not hoping for any of these players to be busts. If anything, I'm hoping for their careers to turn out the best, but again, that's not always the case. But here I have Devin Vassell from FSU going at number 11. 6'7", 200 as a shooting guard. Very athletic. Size is great for his position. And good passer. Defense is good. And he's great. I mean, compared to Kelly Oubre, he's a great wing player, which is one of the things I need that I think that the Spurs need. And I think that he may have to create himself as a better offensive player, but on the defensive end, he is pretty good. Ball handling isn't totally the best as it should be, at least. But I think that he can definitely develop and improve, and I think that he could be a pretty good fit for the Spurs.
At number 12, we have the Sacramento Kings. And I have them taking Devin Vassell, as Hudson just mentioned with the Spurs. I think he's also probably, if you look at 3-and-D wings, he's right up there in this draft class. And the Kings have, a nice guard duo with, Fox and Hield. Whether that can stay or not is yet to be seen. Whether they bring Bogdanovich back is also a big question mark. But I think Devin Vassell he's just too good to fall any lower than 12. I think I kind of compare him to someone like a Trevor Ariza, a guy that can just play his role. He can even be better than Trevor Ariza. Like Trevor Ariza, might be a bit harsh, but I mean, I just like when I watch his game, that's what he reminds me of. I just hope that the Kings don't ruin this man's career like they have a lot of other draft picks, and I hope that he pans out, whether the Kings take him here or not.
At 12, I have the Kings taking Precious Achua from Memphis. He's a power forward. He's really good. He has a lot of strength. He's 6'9" at the power forward position. He's got a long wingspan. And he has the tools to check, either the small forward spot or the power forward spot. And while switching onto the perimeter, he's shown a little bit of upside of shooting. Everybody can improve their shooting. He's not that really good of a free throw shooter, but he did make a lot of 3-pointers. He didn't make a lot, but he shot good enough 3-point. He's a good enough 3-point shot, but he needs to be more consistent. He's really not that consistent. Defensively, sometimes he can improve. The thing with him is he has tunnel vision when he has the ball in his hands. On the offensive end, he sometimes settles for mid-range. But I think for the Kings, if you think about it, let's see, they have De'Aaron Fox, they have Buddy Hield, they have good enough wing, point guard and shooting guard. They have a good center in Rashawn Holmes. They have Marvin Bagley. They could probably fit Achua at the small forward position instead of Harrison Barnes and maybe let him go or trade him and go even more younger. I think this would be a good fit for them. And, players can always improve. And I think he's got really, really good upside. But we'll have to see. And I think they're going to take him at 12.
Well, number 12 for me, I have actually Aaron Nessmith from Vanderbilt, shooting guard / small forward. I think that he would be a great fit for the Kings. Not knowing whether Buddy Hield will be back with them at the start of next season, he can play both shooting guard or small forward. I think that they're pretty good at the center position in Rashawn Holmes, and also point guard and De'Aaron Fox. His NBA comparison is Cam Johnson and Robert Covington, I should say. But at 215, his size is pretty good, but he's not the greatest athletic, which is where I think power forward could be a good position. But again, with his size and weight, not really. His defense is pretty good, and he's strong, but quickness, again, with athleticism, isn't too great. Ball handling isn't too great. Passing isn't the best. So he's a good shooter, but he's gonna have to, I wouldn't say master, but get passing and ball handling up there if he wants to be the shooting guard. If Buddy Hield obviously is not there, and if not, and if he is there, then the backup. If not, then he probably would have to be small forward or just something else on the team. But I think that there's a chance that he doesn't turn out as I want him to. But obviously, I think that if he improves his ball handling and passing, then he could easily be great.
At number 13, I have the Pelicans taking Aaron Nessmith. Hudson just talked about him with the Kings. A shooting guard slash small forward. He's one of the best pure shooters in this draft, and he's also a very good defender. The comparisons that Hudson made about, Rocco and Cam Johnson, I can kind of see, but I think Aaron Nesmith is a couple, inches shorter. That's why I personally compare him to Wesley Matthews. And if you think about it, bro, Zion needs shooters around him. And he is, I think, the best shooter in this draft. I think if you want to run small ball with Zion at the 5, you have Lonzo, JJ, Nesmith, Ingram, and Zion. That's one of the deadliest small ball lineups in the league. And I think he just fit in seamlessly because all he has to do is just play his role. Like, they're not asking him to, handle the ball or anything. He has to shoot and play defense, and he's elite at both of those already. So I think he's going to be one of the most NBA ready guys in this draft.
This is a little impromptu. I kind of forgot that Naismith existed, so it was a little impromptu. At 13, I had the Pelicans taking RJ Hampton, but now I think I agree with you, Suhas. They're going to take Aaron Nesmith. He's the best shooter in this draft. I mean, there's no other way to put it. He, made more than 4 3-pointers a game and converted on 50% of his attempts. He's a really good free throw shooter too, and he's a really good defender. But I think the key thing that stands out of him, he's got a really good work ethic and leadership. He's not really good of a shot creator. Sometimes he gets beat off the dribble. But the thing is, with this type of work ethic and leadership, he can develop himself into a really good wing. And I think the Pelicans could really use this. I really liked his game coming out of college. I know he really didn't play that many games. He had a stress fracture in his foot, and that's, somewhat of a problem. But we saw Bol, fall because of a stress fracture in his foot, but he was a center. It's another story for a different day. But I really like Aaron Nesmith here for the Pelicans at 13.
I actually have different player. Saddiq Bey going to the Pelicans at 13. He's from Villanova. He's 6'8", 215, plays small forward. He's athletic. He's decently athletic, good size, good defense. Ball handling is good, passing is good, and you say Aaron News and that, however you pronounce his last name, is good shooter. He shot 45% from 3 in his sophomore year, 76% free throw shooting, which is pretty ridiculous for college player. At least 45% from 3. And he was a 2-year starter at Villanova and averaged 16, 5, and 2. He was all Big East first team. And again, he's a great shooter, great defense. And I think that he could be a really good pick for the Pelicans, as you guys said before, that Zion would need shooters around him. So Aaron Nesmith would be a great option. And if he's available, by all means, take him. But I'm going by if, according to my mock draft, if he was taken the pick before or just before at any point, that Saddiq Bey might be the guy to take.
And now we move on to the final pick of the mock draft lottery. With the Boston Celtics. I'm very curious to see Tejas' take on this. This is his favorite team, so I want to see what he thinks. I personally think I think they should take Jalen Smith at this pick. He's a power forward slash center. He's a stretch big that can protect the rim. Like, what else do the Celtics need? Trading for Miles Turner, you can get a guy that can be the next Miles Turner on your team with Jalen Smith right here. I know they have drafted guys like Robert Williams and Grant Williams, but I think Jalen Smith has a way higher upside than both of them. I think he can be as good as, prime Serge Ibaka. That's how good I think he can be. And he all he has to do is shoot threes and protect the rim. I think he'd just go on to the Celtics, and I don't know if he'd start for them right away. Depends on how good he is. But I think I mean if I was the Celtics, I'd start him over Daniel Tice because I just think that's how good he can be. And I think it fits the need of the Celtics, which is a center that can not only protect the rim but can also space the floor.
Jalen Smith strikes me as a prospect that he's really not that big, and we struggle against centers like Bam, and that stuff. We really needed like Joel Embiid. I really don't think he's that big enough to guard both of them. But anyways, here, due to my impromptu in the last pick, actually, I had the Celtics taking Cole Anthony, but instead they will take RJ Hampton here. The Celtics needed a backup point guard. And he's, they really needed someone. We had Brad Wanamaker play the point guard position, and Wanamaker was serviceable, but I think they need a little bit more. They need someone like he's a combo guard, which is exactly, I think, what the Celtics need on their bench. He's quick. He's got a good offensive game. His fundamentals need a little bit of work, but he knows how to defend in the backcourt. He's got quick feet. But some problems that he has is he needs to be a more consistent three-point shooter, especially off the dribble. He needs to toughen up as a defender. And his technique on defense really needs work. He's really not that good on screens. He gets hit on them. But I think this is what the Celtics need. But I will also mention this. I don't think the Celtics will have this pick come whenever the draft happens. I think they will trade it away on draft night for we'll see what. But I don't think they will pick with this pick. But if they do, I think they'll take RJ Hampton.
Okay, I have something to say about the Celtics pick. I don't obviously. There's been rumors about them trading like all 3 first-round picks to move up, to get that big man. But Tejas, I don't think the main priority for the Celtics is to get a backup point guard. I think it's to get a big man, the best big man you could get at the 14th pick. That's why I think they're obviously going to be trying to move up. But I think that what they need to do is move up in the draft to try to get a big man. And if not, then stay to get all right. My pick is Precious Achiuwa or Achiuwa, not sure. From Memphis, he's 6'9", 225. Very athletic. Size is great. Like I said, 6'9". Great defense. He's strong. He's fast. Not too great offense. Great rebounder. And has good potential. That's all the Celtics need. They just need someone to protect the rim and maybe chuck up. I mean, not, you know what I mean? Score some points in the paint. They already have Tatum, Jaylen Brown, and Kemba, who can all shoot the ball. So they don't really need another shooting center. But what they do need is just someone who can protect the rim. That's where I think Precious comes in. Doesn't handle the ball well, which is something that he can work on, but he also can't not too great on offensive end. But again, I think defense is something they should focus on more. But if he can work on his offense, then that should make the Celtics automatically a championship contender only if his offense gets better and at the same time his defense can get better.
All right, and that is gonna be it for this episode. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Leave your thoughts in the comment section below. Uh, this took a while for us to research on, so we'd love to see your thoughts on it. If you guys have any other video ideas for us, let us know down in the comment section as well. Please follow us on Instagram at _ball-don't-lie-pod. We really appreciate the support. Next episode, we're going to be looking to do, we're going to be starting a series of our top 10 players at each position. So stay tuned for that because next episode's about to be a banger. We hope you guys enjoyed this episode and peace.